Welcome everybody to our special National PTA event. I'm your host for today, Daryl Robinson with National PTA, and we're here for Teacher Appreciation Week. I really hope everyone is enjoying the week and using that hashtag Thank a Teacher, and just to pour on the love and support and appreciation for all our educators out there. And that's what today's special event is about. Today, I'm here with Miss Bullard, AKA Miss BTV. That's how you probably know her on TikTok. And I'm super excited for this conversation here today. And I'll let Miss BTV introduce herself here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Bullard, as Daryl mentioned, Miss BTV on TikTok and Instagram. And I am a K-5 science lab teacher at Huntingtown Farms Elementary School in Charlotte, North Carolina. And thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Okay, let's get right into it. We all know you as Miss BTV on TikTok. So why TikTok? Why did you decide to join TikTok as a teacher?
So when COVID-19 closed schools in March of 2020, I noticed a dip in my attendance rates, like a lot of teachers probably did. And we also noticed that students were spending hours a day scrolling through social media, including TikTok. But my students were spending time on social media, but not always showing up to my science classes. So I made the decision, if they're not going to come to me, then I will go to them. And so on March 25th of 2020, I downloaded TikTok and I started posting simple science experiment videos. My hope was that students would be scrolling through TikTok, they would see my face pop up, they would stop for a minute and learn something new. And then maybe, just maybe, come to my class the next day and say, hey, you showed up on my TikTok yesterday. And it worked. It definitely worked. My account grew slowly at first. It was mostly students, people that I knew, parents of students who I was teaching. But by the summer, I had reached 1,000 followers. And then less than 6 months later, my account had grown to 1 million. And so I love that what started as something that I use to reach my students now helps me reach students all over the world.
I love that. I love that it was so organic. You know, you weren't trying to be TikTok famous. You just became TikTok famous just from, you know, wanting to be the best teacher and reach your students. I think that's beautiful. And what is your favorite thing about using the app TikTok?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about TikTok. I think a lot of people think that it's just an app for dancing teenagers. And yeah, there are a lot of dance videos on this app. But my favorite part of TikTok is how educational it can be. Every time I open this app, I learn something new, whether it's a life hack or a new recipe, or even some new activity to try in my science lab. There's always something new that you can learn on TikTok.
That is so true. I definitely learn something new every time I use that app. Yeah, TikTok is awesome. But let's rewind a little bit. So we got a little bit into where you currently are as, you know, TikTok famous and this amazing teacher. But how did you even get into teacher? Why did you become? What inspired you to become a teacher?
So I'm a 4th generation North Carolina public school teacher. I come from a long line of teachers. My mother was a teacher, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, even my grandfather. And then in my family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, we have tons of teachers in my family. So I was destined to do this job. And I also was lucky enough to have my own mother as my high school biology teacher. And up until that point, she was just mom. But having her as a teacher gave me my first insight into the hard work, the dedication, the passion that goes into this career. And so I went on to major in education at Wake Forest University. After I graduated, I joined Teach for America and taught in Jacksonville, Florida for a couple of years as a 3rd grade teacher. And I've been in this role as a K-5 science lab teacher for 7 years now. So I think this was a job, like I said, that I was destined to do given my family history. but it's definitely a job that you are called to, that you have to have the heart for. And so I just feel lucky to have been raised by teachers and be surrounded by teachers growing up, to kind of foster my desire to work with kids and teach kids. And here I am.
I love that quote you just said, raised by teachers. I mean, essentially, we're all raised by teachers, right? If you're, you go to school, teachers are more than just people who teach you the subject matter. You are kind of getting raised by teachers. So I love that quote. We might take that. I'm not gonna, we might have to put you as a quote for that one. We can't deny that this year has been really rough, and that's the beauty of what you've done, is taking a bad situation and trying to improve upon it with your story about why you got on TikTok. But talk about some of those early challenges with just being a teacher in this past school year.
I think this pandemic has shed light on a lot of the inequities that exist in our school systems. And I personally was shocked to learn about how many of my students lacked internet access in their homes. Now, our school district did a great job. They vigorously tried to get hotspots into every single home of students who did not have internet. And that helped, but it wasn't a perfect solution, because one hotspot in a home where 5 or 6 people are trying to use it is not super reliable. So the number one challenge of this year was equitable, reliable internet. If we are going to do school full time remotely online, then every student relies on internet. And that was a problem that we were faced with as the minute that schools closed. And we did our best to overcome that, but that was definitely a huge challenge. And I think another inequity that was brought to light was technology access. I am so fortunate to work in a school district here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we have a 1-to-1 student device ratio. And that's not the case in a lot of places around our country. And so if you can't afford your own laptop or have a computer at home, then how are you supposed to attend these online classes? So I think technology as a whole was a big challenge for this school year, and still continues to be for many districts that are still full remote. And so moving in as we bring kids back into the building where they always have internet and usually have reliable technology, it makes me feel a little bit more grateful for things that I maybe took a little bit for granted during or pre-pandemic school years. So.
That's so true. The digital divide. I think that's something that is not talked about enough. And it's a major point that PTA is advocating for through our PTA Connected initiative, is trying to close that digital divide here in America. And I think another thing that the past year has taught us, and maybe probably reminded people, I think we always knew it, but it reminded us of how collaborative education is. Your child, even if you have one child, so many people play a part in that one child's education. Can you talk a little bit about how parents can help with you as a teacher? What can parents do to help you as a teacher?
Well, the first thing they can do is join their school's PTA if one already exists, or maybe start one if one doesn't exist. My school's PTA spoils me, takes such good care of me and the rest of the teachers at my school. We absolutely love them. So thank you. And then secondly, don't let little encouragements go under the radar. Some of the best parts of my day are when a parent just quickly stops me in the carpool line and says, my daughter could not stop talking about the science experiments that you did in class yesterday. That really means the world to me. And it's so simple and it's so easy, but it's just a great reminder that what I'm doing is making a difference, and kids are talking about it when they go home to their parents. So whether it's a little shout out in the carpool line or a quick email just to say hello and thank you, especially this week, Teacher Appreciation Week, take a moment, parents, if you're watching, and say thank you and tell your teachers why you appreciate them.
Such a good point, that it could really be something easy and to really help that collaborative effort for your child's education. You mentioned the PTA. I'm so glad that you have a PTA there that's supporting you. Can you talk a little bit more about how they have helped your teaching experience?
My school's PTA is incredible. As I mentioned earlier, I'm at a school called Huntingtown Farms Elementary in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we just have such an incredible group of parents running our school's PTA. A lot of the stuff that you see behind me, these bins that are just filled with supplies, lab coats that are in the closets right now, it was all funded by PTA. The moment that I got hired for this job 7 years ago, they came and they said, okay, what do you need to run a science lab? And I said, well, a class set of lab coats would be great that are kid sized, because most lab coats that you find online are not suitable for a 5-year-old. So they went out and they found me these kids lab coats, and now 5-year-olds look adorable every time they throw these on in my lab. They've gotten me safety goggles. They got me some kid-friendly microscopes that are very easy for kids to use. And I joke with them, I say, you guys have spoiled me so much that one day I'm going to ask for something and you're going to say no, and I'm not going to know how to handle it. They have just gone above and beyond to make sure that anything that I need has been provided. And they also take care of the rest of the teachers at our school in the same way. They have what they call the kindness cart that they fill with snacks and candy and drinks, and they'll roll it around every month and you just grab whatever you need for that day. They host amazing fundraising events, and I can't say enough positive things about the PTA here at our school.
Fantastic. I mean, it truly takes a village, and I love that. That's awesome. One thing I want to transfer over to here is STEM. It's something that thankfully more people are talking about, especially I've said in the last 5 years or so. STEM has really become a buzzword, as it should. It's important, but I think a lot of times too, parents may not have a full grasp of what that means. So, can you talk a little bit more about what is STEM and why is STEM important?
So I think this year, more than ever, we saw why STEM is absolutely critical. So as far as teaching virtually goes, I went from teaching students right here in this classroom that you're looking at to teaching through a computer screen. And without computer engineers and without programmers and without coding, we would not have programs like Zoom to do class over. We would not have programs like Google Classroom, right? So having engineers who are able to design programs like the one that we're speaking on now was very, very important for this school year. Also, healthcare workers, the heroes of 2020, and they all are scientists. Doctors are scientists. And so STEM, once again, played this critical role in caring for all the people who were sick and hospitalized from COVID. And then, of course, we think about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. All of those things played a role in designing and executing this vaccine and the rollout that's happening currently to help us get back to normal. So you're right that recently, in the last 5 years, and especially in the last year, STEM has been kind of at the forefront, and people have realized how important and how critical it is.
How can parents then, you just explained why STEM is so important. How can parents inspire their children to get into STEM?
I love this question. And you do not have to try very hard to get kids interested in science. Kids are already so naturally curious. They already ask questions about the world around them. And that's what scientists do. They explore things, they ask questions about things. And so children are pretty innately curious. They are kind of innately little scientists. Now, I think one thing that gets in the way of kids doing science from a young age and pursuing science careers is unfortunately adults. teachers and parents are sometimes a little hesitant to do science experiments in their classrooms and in their homes. And I get it. Science in a classroom can sometimes be messy. Science can sometimes be a subject that is pretty time consuming. And when you only have certain numbers of hours in the school day, sometimes that subject can get pushed to the side, especially in an elementary school where subjects like math and reading are so heavily tested and so heavily focused on. So my first thing would be that we adults need to get out of the way. We need to let these kids be little scientists. They love it, and it's okay to get messy every now and then. Go outside, put on some old clothes, and let's blow some stuff up. Because like I said, kids love these experiments, and science does not always have to be messy. It does not always have to take a long time. I post videos all the time on Miss B TV that are quick and easy and use very minimal materials. So maybe just start by watching a couple of science experiments and trying a few in your kitchen.
Exactly. I have a little bit of an honesty moment here. Me and my nephew are going to try to replicate the experiment you did with the water density, where one was red, one was blue, and then you put it on top of each other with the card in between, and then you remove the card, and they were supposed to blend and turn purple, but because of the difference in water density, and I believe the top was hot, and so it wouldn't go into the colder water. And that blew my mind. I was like, my goodness. I sent it to my nephew. He's 11 years old and he wants to get into STEM. And as soon as he said he wanted to get into STEM, I said, oh, this summer, what you just said earlier, let's go outside and blow stuff up. I said, I've been waiting for this moment. Let's go outside and blow stuff up and do these experiments. So all this summer, we plan to be following you and try to replicate a lot of these things. And that leads me to my next question is, what is it about your videos, or what kind of content do your students and your followers like?
My students just think it's kind of cool that their teacher is a TikToker, because you ask them what they want to be and they want to be a TikToker. Like that's their career goal at the moment as an 8-year-old. So they think it's kind of cool that I've like found this new little hobby on TikTok. But I think the reason that my videos resonate with so many people, both young and old, is because of their simplicity. I really do work hard to make these experiments as simple as possible. I try to use very simple materials. I try to break them down into very simple steps. And then I try to use very kid-friendly language. And so I make these experiments easy to understand and easy to execute in your homes.
And you kind of touched on a little bit of it about what I wanted to ask you, but what's some more tips or tricks for teachers who want to do the same thing that you've done and they want to reach their more students, and how can they translate themselves onto TikTok?
One thing I've learned about TikTok is all about having a niche. And so my niche is science experiment videos. And I've noticed that anytime I steer away from that niche, my videos don't really do so well. If I try to do teacher comedy, nah, people don't want to see me do that. They want to see me do science experiments. So I've noticed teachers on TikTok finding their niche. Those are the most successful TikTok teachers. So maybe your niche is teacher comedy. Maybe your niche is giving technology tips, which was a huge popular trend, especially over this last school year. Or maybe your TikTok niche is funny things that your students say and do, right? So if you can find your niche, then that's the golden ticket to having virality and success on TikTok. Maybe you're thinking, well, I don't know what my niche is. If you don't know what your niche is, TikTok will find your niche for you. You post a few videos about a few different things, and one of them will do better than the other. There's your niche. Focus on that. If you post a video on technology tips that goes viral, the next time you post a technology tip video, it's going to also do well. So sometimes TikTok can kind of help you figure out what kind of content should you be posting on the app.
Nice, nice. I love it. And we're coming to the end. I could talk to you all day, but I know you do have to go back to teaching. So we only have a couple more questions here. One of them is just, what are your, we've been talked about the current, we've talked about the past. What are your hopes for the future as a teacher?
I get asked almost every day, are you going to quit teaching to start creating content full time? And that's a legitimate question. A lot of content creators do dedicate their entire career and entire day to creating videos and creating content. And my answer to that question is no, I am not quitting my teaching job. I love this job that I have. It is such a cool job to be able to only teach elementary school science. I would be crazy to give this up. And number two, I've found this good balance between content creation and teaching. And I'm also very lucky that what I post on TikTok is exactly what I do in this science lab every day. So I'm getting inspiration for videos I can post, but also new experiments that I can try with my own students. So I do not have any plans to stop teaching. I also don't have any plans to stop creating content. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to post science experiment videos that can help teachers and students and parents. One goal I do have for myself is to possibly start creating some longer form content on platforms maybe like YouTube. TikTok is also rolling out some longer form videos where you can film up to 3 minutes. But I would love to create some content that teachers could use in their classrooms. It's really easy for me to pull up a YouTube video here in my classroom, not so easy for me to pull up a TikTok. So I feel like if I could create some experiment videos that teachers could use in their classrooms on platforms like YouTube, that would actually be pretty beneficial for everyone. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to keep creating videos and showing everybody science experiments.
I love it. I love it. We love it. We're going to continue to be watching them. Like I said, personally, I'll be doing these experiments this summer. And so we really appreciate the time here today for on Teacher Appreciation Week. And is there, just as a final question, is there anything that, any kind of encouragement you want to give to other teachers around the world for Teacher Appreciation Week?
I do, especially this Teacher Appreciation Week. Teachers who have made it through this school year are absolute rock stars. And I want to remind people that we did not know any of this was coming. We did not know that schools were going to close. We had very limited time to transform our teaching from in-person to totally remote teaching. In my case, we were at school on Friday and we were told, you'll be back Monday teaching like normal. And then over the weekend, everything changed. So we had less than 2 days to totally transform how we do our job. But even with that limited notice, we adapted and we figured it out. And so I am so honored and humbled to be in a career with people who are so dedicated and selfless and able to persevere and adapt, even in situations like the ones that we were thrown in this school year. So thank you, teachers, and thank you, Daryl, for putting on this event and for all that National PTA does for us.
Exactly. And we appreciate you, and we appreciate all teachers out there. We're going to continue even beyond Teacher Appreciation Week to support and help teachers. That's what this is all about. It's 1 week, but it's really year round. And so once again, guys, use that hashtag Thank a Teacher, and let's show some appreciation today. Thank you. Bye-bye.